Welcome to Switchcast. I'm your host, Doug Tabbitt, founder of Switchcars and Cannonball Run record holder, and we are back with you tonight, not live. This is a pre-recorded episode, so no call-ins, no questions tonight, but we are here with you. We come to you from Cleveland, but not Cleveland, Ohio, actually Cleveland, Georgia. And we had a couple YouTuber guests on, none other than Freddie Tavarish Hernandez and Jared Pink. They are hosts of the show Wrench Every Day and Tavarish, right? Is it Tavarish? What the heck is his YouTube channel? Jeepers, you'd think I'd know. I do know. I'm just, trying to go off the cuff here. So they are YouTube sensations. You probably know Freddie most for his rescuing of the Pimp My Ride minivan, but both of them are fairly accomplished mechanics. I think Jared is more of a seasoned professional, and Freddie is a garage hack, but he has certainly turned that into something pretty impressive in terms of the cars that he's been able to work on and help the viewers learn how to work on, and made it really, really entertaining along the way. Both of them are fantastic guys, a lot of fun to hang out with, and we were down at Drift University together. And, of course, we had varying levels of skill. I'm not going to say who was the best, but it wasn't Freddie, and he will readily admit that. But he learned quite a bit there. The great thing about drift school or any driving school is you can go from absolutely any starting point and always learn something. So we had a great interview. And I'll just leave it to you guys. We'll go right into the show and enjoy the interview. All right, so I'm here with Jared Pink, host of Wrench Every Day on Tavarish's channel and producer crew of Car Trek. Did I get all that right?
Well, not a producer of Car Trek, but most all of it. I'm crew, prop master, drone pilot, occasional stunt driver of Car Trek. It's one of those things where we run such a small crew of Car Trek that we all wear about 30 hats.
Nice. Yep. Okay. All right. So to take a step back, so you are a YouTuber, which is every 6-year-old's dream now, but you got there because you work on cars, and as your father-in-law said when I met him yesterday, you're really good at teaching. So give me the background, like way rewind to when you're a kid, and kind of give me the journey of where you started, the road along the way, and how it ended up here.
So it's kind of a real fun story. Like, I look back and realize that if I didn't have supportive parents that let me cause all the destruction that I did growing up, I would have never actually made it along this path. I was always curious to figure out how something would work. So we would buy some new appliance, new tool, new anything, and I would be immediately taking it apart. And that slowly transitioned into I like to go fast, and we had 10-speed bicycles, and I looked at a old riding lawnmower, and I noticed it had similar looking gears. And I'm like, well, as I'm riding my bicycle, the chain does this, I go faster. So I made some gears, put it on a lawnmower, and hauled down the road at 30 miles an hour with my mom in tow to tell me how fast I was going. So it was just this continued progression of, we started with bikes, then it was a lawnmower. Then I actually, at 14, had a race car and was on a NASCAR short track doing that. And it just, no one in my family really is a wrench. It just, for whatever reason, I fell into it, and with supportive, people around me, I was able to kind of grow with that. Moved out, needed a job, and I'm like, well, I can work on stuff. So I just started working in a shop, just as an oil changer initially, and just slowly progressed and learned. And the main thing was a curiosity. And
Sure.
I was always trying to figure out why something worked, why, if something broke, why did it break, and made a lot of mistakes and broke a lot of things. So moved to Georgia and started working at a Toyota dealership. And
So did you have any formal training? Did you go to ASE school or anything?
Nothing. I'm a big fan, and when people ask me the best way to start out, and especially in the era with the internet now and how much information is available, what you would spend in a school versus buying a $500 mechanic special broken car and $300 worth of tools and just doing. You will learn so much more hands-on. And the trick would be, if you go to a school, find a school that is 80% hands-on, because what you're sitting down and reading in a classroom, it's hard to figure out. So the main training I did get is while I was working at Toyota. There's certification, so they send you down to schools, and every time I'd get sent down, there's always the person kind of at the top of the class, and then there's the person at the bottom of the class, and the instructor always had to kind of go lowest common denominator, made sure everyone could catch and figure on. And kind of going to that teaching element, the instructors loved having me in class because I love sharing knowledge, explaining, and showing how things were done. So I would get paired up with whoever needed the most help, and we just kind of have our own classroom. We'd figure out material together, go out in the workshops and get things done. But unfortunately, teaching doesn't pay very well.
Sure.
So it wasn't able to really pursue that teaching, but worked through the Toyota program, which led me going into transitioning from dealership to performance, working on the Toyota Supras, Nissan GTRs. And again, it was just a matter of tearing things apart, figuring out how they worked. The big gamble we had when I worked with the company Speed for Sale, in 2008, we had the 4th GTR in Atlanta, and no one knew how that transmission worked. So I looked at the owner. I'm like, well, let's take it apart and figure it out. And he's like, you know how? And I'm like, nobody does, but we'll figure it out.
I don't think Nissan did it that time
exactly.
either. They just threw new ones in. I had a GTR in 2009 that had a bad transmission. And, at the time, when they came out, they had that launch control. It was a big deal in 2009. Now every company has launch control on their cars, but that was innovative. But then a few months after it came out, they said, oh, you can't use it because if you use the feature we gave you, we'll void the warranty, which, brought up all sorts of legal problems for them. But regardless, I had the first one I ever had, I probably launched 20, 30, 50 times before I got that memo. And I was like, well, it hasn't blown up yet. So, but anyway, I got another one that was basically brand new. It had like 100 miles on it right from the dealer, and it came in with a bad transmission. So I assumed that somebody at the dealership had taken it out and joyridden it and blown up the transmission, and it turns out it was actually just a bad one from the factory. So they just stuck a brand new one in under warranty.
Yeah, and that transmission was so complex. Like there's pistons that, it's a manual transmission that's basically electronically controlled at its core. And there's pistons that move back and forth. And when I took it all apart, put it back together, I didn't realize there's magnets on one side to act as a position sensor.
Oh.
So we put it all together, nothing works. And I'm so I take it back apart, and I'm just looking at it, and I notice, there's a little bit of metal filings right here. So I chase it with a magnet, and I was like, okay, those are position sensors. Put it back together, and it works.
Right.
So they're so incredibly complex, and it's neat looking at that and realizing someone sat down and imagined that and created it, because the complexity that goes in, like engineers that create, astound me to be able to just, we're going to put 2 different input shafts on top of each other so you can have second gear engaged while you're still in first gear. And that's a whole level of smart that I'm not there, but maybe one day.
Yeah. Did you guys see many blown transmissions from people launching their cars, or was that just something Nissan was doing to cover their butts?
That's really where they were, I think, covering their butt. Now, if you went back to back to back and got it incredibly hot, you would break them. Or the other thing you would get from launching is wheel hop, which is when you start to accelerate, the tire has traction, then suddenly loses it, and then on an independent suspension, it starts bouncing. So it just gets worse and worse and worse. And that drivetrain shock was so extreme, you would actually break the case and spit differential gears out the bottom. So
my my C5 Corvette does that a fair amount, even on old tires, because I'm leaving stoplights, sideways half the time. But every now and then I get some wheel hop, and my mechanic couldn't understand why when I have him change my diff oil every year, and why it's black. I'm like, dude, I told you, like, I beat on this car. He's like, yeah, but there's no way you changed this last year. I'm like, yes, I did. Anyway, side tangent there, but okay. So talk about speed for sale for a little bit. People in the tuner industry obviously know what Speed for Sale. It was a legendary tuner company, but give us a little background of that company.
Yeah, so Speed for Sale, I came on when it was actually the owner, Jeremy, ran it out of his house. It started off where he found the Toyota Supra. You could find them pretty cheap, and then suddenly they started selling for a lot of money. So he would buy, much like you do with cars, he would find cheap Supras, buy them up, and sell them. People liked how he was doing it, so they started asking, hey, can we get some parts from you as well? And then it turned into, can you install parts? So we started out of his basement and moved into a shop where we did a ton of really cool stuff with Supras. We had, working with Stu Hagen, had a really cool, the twin-turbo Supra is a sequential twin, and we had an upgraded setup where it would look completely stock, but you could make 700 wheel horsepower. So just lots of, yeah.
Most people were doing large single turbos on those, right? To get big power out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And early in turbo technology, big singles were just very slow to come on to power.
Sure.
So that's where the sequentials worked really well. You could have that snappy power response, but eventually turbo technology caught up to where unless you had to have a stock appearance or wanted it, it just made more financial sense to do a modern single turbo on it. So we did a lot of cool stuff with that. And then again, the GTR came out and we just worked with them and had a ton of fun building them. I still remember one car we were building. It was at the very beginning of the era of the GTR, and we'd get it done, start it, put it onto the dyno, and then there'd be some new and great. And the customer's like, well, I want that. And we're like, you don't want to drive the car we just spent all this money and time building. He's like, no, I want the new turbo kit.
Well, because they had to post on the forum how fast their car was and what they had on it. It didn't matter if they drove it.
It pretty much does seem like that was kind of the direction that he was going, was chasing clout and not so much driving the car. I had another really cool GTR we built. The customer showed me a couple pictures of different GTRs he liked, said, this is my power target. I want it to look on your interpretation of that. You have $180,000 to do it. And that was it. Like, I tried to send him pictures or ask a particular part, and his answer was just, I showed you what I'd like. I want your interpretation of it. And that was the most nerve-wracking build ever, because he would give no feedback, no input, and he's just in paint and body and custom parts was $80,000.
Holy cow.
And I could show him the car and have him go, that's not what I wanted. So that was a very nerve-wracking reveal. Thankfully, he absolutely loved it and just took the car everywhere and beat the heck out of it. But that is, I don't want to say that's a bad customer, but when you're putting that much on your builder to just say, I kind of like this, give me your interpretation with no feedback. Like, that's some trust, which I appreciate, but
that's some pressure. That's some pressure for sure. Gotcha. How many of those cars that you were building were going overseas?
So most of our exports, we only did 2 or 3 build cars that went overseas. We sold a tremendous amount of parts internationally, but we were talking at the track yesterday that we did 20 or 30 cars just in the early days in 2008, 2009, when they weren't available globally yet, where we would get the cars, send them overseas.
Okay. Yep. And I was doing some of that too.
Yeah.
Most of my customers, I think, were domestic, but yeah, when I was flipping GTRs, a few of them did go overseas. Sometimes through intermediaries.
Yeah.
People had, from different countries had family here, and they were the ones with the connections to get them over there. But so I was selling them in the U.S. to a lot of, foreign sounding names. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of the company. So obviously there's a lot of companies chasing GTR tuning. I think Nissan said at the time that ECU couldn't be cracked, and I think it was more of a challenge. Like, it was marketing, right? Like, keep this a secret, wink, wink. So all the tuning companies jumped on it because they wanted to be the ones that crack it, and it just became, it was like the '90s again. It was a tuner war. Up in Cleveland, gosh darn it, Schweitzer. Schweitzer. I still don't know how he pronounces it, but they were sending a lot of cars and kits overseas, because over in Russia, I guess it was a big thing. They were all racing them over there, 900 horsepower. I'm sure AMS was shipping packages. Were you guys doing tuning packages for the GTR? Like, did you have bolt-on parts and have your 800, 900 horsepower kit?
Yeah. So we had, kind of up to the 800 horsepower, the full bolt-on level. We had our own downpipes, mid-pipes, exhaust, some of the intercooler stuff. But we worked where we found a lot of success was working with AMS and just kind of being a dealer with all of them. And
Okay.
We wouldn't dedicate to just one brand. And anytime we set up with a new manufacturer, we always said, we're going to offer, I felt like that gave us the best advantage to offer a complete package, like what
Sure.
fit a customer's need, rather than just doing a single brand. It's like, all right, this is how you're going to achieve your goals the best way. We did do our own transmission builds. We worked with Datsun Motorsports, which is the premier GTR transmission company. Like, they were pioneers in getting gear sets and hold just about every record in the GTR platform. And now Lamborghini, Audi, everything. They're
Right.
the dual clutch,
Kings.
transmission company.
Yeah. At what horsepower level did the stock transmission start to break down?
So you'd really start running out of the factory clutches anytime you're over 750. Early
Okay.
on, it was lower. We just didn't have the transmission tuning yet.
Yeah.
The software hadn't been cracked. It was a while before we had full control on that side. So you'd see a lot of clutch failures early on, and then your biggest killers were first gears on launch controls with really sticky tires. That could be done at stock power levels. But it really, you can keep the GTR transmission happy up to about 800, especially with the modern tuning. But if you're going to beat on it, you at least need to do clutches and some of the other basic small upgrades. They were bad about popping off circlips, which were our gear retainers, and that would be from being on throttle, off throttle, and things like that. You would brake. Fourth gear really liked to start braking at about 900 horsepower, and fourth gear lives on the very end of the little stubby even gear input shaft. So it's at the end with no support, and it's a very thin gear, and you start seeing what's called a root fracture of the gear tooth, where you get little small breaks, and then suddenly spits it out, and then you have metal blowing everything up really bad.
Sounds like you need an automotive dentist for that.
Yeah. So
Root canal. Celebrity Machines is a proud sponsor of Switchcast. Celebrity Machines offers more than 250 different screen-accurate license plates as they appeared in movies and TV shows like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, The Fast and the Furious, Breaking Bad, and so many more. Celebrity Machines also makes our dealer insert plates as well as our commemorative 2539 plates from the fastest cannonball run ever. If you're looking for a gift for somebody you like or for garage art for your own place, check out celebritymachines.com for more info and use promo code SWITCHCAST for a 25.39% discount at checkout. Again, go to celebritymachines.com and use discount code SWITCHCAST. Okay, so not to get too lost in the weeds of a 10-year-old car, but so you worked at Speed for Sale. Sounds like it sounds like a really cool transition from a Toyota dealer to a tuning company like that. Got to explore, got to learn what happened with Speed for Sale. So I know from my end, like I knew Jeremy. I think we sold him a GTR early on, and then his emails just started bouncing a few years ago. So what went down there?
Yeah, so kind of towards the end, it's one of the things that happens to a lot of small companies. Unfortunately, there's a level of success, and then you have employees that can run everything. And he had some personal struggles and some alcohol abuse, and it had him check out more and more. And unfortunately, we needed 2 or 3 keys, basically, financial keys, and we could have kept it going. And tragically, he wanted to maintain that control and did none of it, and ran the books upside down. So that ended up closing a very successful company that didn't need to. But it's one of those things where it's very unfortunate. I hate how some things happen, but they always end up leading to an exciting path. Like right as that, I won't say at the very end, but working at a sports car shop, tuning shop, I buy a lot of used parts and had a huge collection of, parts for whenever I got to build my own car. And I happened to sell Tavarish a part for his Super right when he started to look for him. So we started talking and knew each other, and I came down and helped him with the project. So I'm venting to him as the shop is closing. I'm trying to get customers. The worst thing that will ever happen in a speed shop when it closes is if the doors just close. Everyone's cars are inside, all of their
Same
parts.
thing with the car dealer, all of that.
Yeah.
The FBI shows up and everybody's cars are in there, and you have to go to court to get them back.
Yeah, and you have to have a receipt for everything down to a nut and bolt. Like, your name can be written on a part, but if that business has outstanding debt and you don't have a receipt showing that that is actually your part, you don't get it back. So in the middle of my mad scramble of just trying to get every customer their belongings back before the doors shuttered, had some people kind of get unrationally angry with me, not understanding, the amount of effort I'm doing. And at this point I was working unpaid, and I'd put a lot of money trying to help just prop the place up, and, got a fly flying around. But, I was trying to get all of that done. Yeah. But just as, again, all of that was happening, Tavarish was like, man, you were kind of good on camera. Why don't you come on board with Wrench Every Day with me, come down and do some builds and just kind of, try out this YouTube thing. And that's kind of where it's ended up. Like I said, there's unfortunate things that happen, but I have the attitude of just keep going forward. And if you sit around too much in a bad situation, you're going to start stinking. What is this saying? I think if you sit and poo too long, you're just going to smell like poo. Like, get up and out of it. Like, there's no point in sitting around in it.
It's a very unprofound but profound saying at the same time.
That's just a simple way of saying it. Like, if you hang around with stink, you're going to stink. So
sure. Right.
So it's led to just an insane adventure of building some cool cars. We're doing car trek, all of us pretending to be Top Gear, and that is so much work. But again, it's just a ton of fun. So
sure. Okay. Nice. So you have recently acquired your own shop here. Yeah. So that Speed for Sale was 3 years ago, 4 years ago that went down?
Almost 3. It was October 2019.
Okay. All right. So you started working on Tavarish's cars and doing some stuff there. And then from there, you started your own channel and opened your own shop here.
Yeah. So, Wrench Every Day existed before. He was doing that with Andrew, and it had turned into a situation where he was doing all the work for the most part on both channels. What? Huh? What?
Huh?
Oh, he's asking me something. He said, did you get that from Display? No. Okay. My wife got it for me. That's what I thought. You said his name 3 times. You summoned him.
Oh, no.
But,
David.
But,
where's he at? He's like creeping outside there.
So, ended up taking over the primary effort with Wrench Every Day, and I had a shared space that I was working on, and it never worked out in a good spot. And we were kind of having projects for when I was in Florida and projects for when I'm home here in Georgia. And this space opened up, and it's just been amazing. It's big, bright. I'm able to keep a bunch of projects. So we've got Wrench Every Day projects in Florida. We've got them here. We've got Tavarish projects in Florida. It's a lot of work, but a ton of fun. It's nice to have a space.
Yeah. Sure it is. I know the feeling. What's the coolest project you have working on now besides the Transcon Medevac?
Yeah, the Transcon vent.
That's probably the most frustrating project you have, right?
It really is, because now every time you fix something, you find 3 other problems. Some of them are improper work. Some of it is just, it's a really bad idea to put that big of an engine in a car that has no airflow to keep it cool.
Right.
And no room for any of it.
Which is exactly what Brock Yates learned when he did it. Like he wanted to build this crazy van for the Cannonball and immediately realized, as we've all realized time and time again, that modified cars are very difficult, and stuffing a big motor and transmission into a car that's not made for it, often has consequences. It may work for a quarter mile, but it doesn't work for 2,800 miles. So
not at all, man. We've got a lot of. they're all very cool in their own way. We're doing a pretty insane Lexus big turbo build for drag racing. I think probably one of my favorite cars is our Nissan 300ZX. It's the Genesis project car of Wrench Every Day that I inherited. I went and hung out with Derek from Vice Grip Garage at a Cletus and Cars event while they were doing burnouts. And I'm like, I want to do this. Like, this is just fun. So we're building a Chevy 454 cubic inch big block engine, has a tunnel ram, and I've teased pictures with 2 superchargers stacked on top of each other, but we're going to just build the most absurd twin supercharged setup anyone has ever seen on the top of this big block. And the goal is for that to go to Cletus and Cars Bristol, which is September 3rd, because I figured a good debut is inside the Thunderdome of, NASCAR's Bristol track. Like, it's such an insane track that have to have that car there. But they all are cool in their own way.
That's going to be cool to see.
That's the most insane that I'm excited about. So
nice, awesome. Well, we're gonna go to some commercials, and Jared's gonna eat some lunch, and then we'll be back with you guys. Nathan's Detailing is a proud sponsor of Switchcast. Nathan's Detailing is a company in Cleveland, Ohio that provides mobile detailing services for individuals and dealerships. They also offer PPF and ceramic coating installations. With over 800 Google reviews and an impressive 4.9-star rating, Nathan's Detailing is the go-to shop for all of your detailing and protection needs. With Nathan's, convenience is key. Their mobile detailing technicians bring the power, water, and supplies to your home or work and detail your car on site. Check out the link in our description for free interior fabric protection or leather conditioning with your purchase. At Nathan's Detailing, this smiles for you.
That guy selling the watermelons might be the guy that we saw last night.
you should go back to the parking lot and do another big handbrake turn. Be like, I need your help, buddy. I got a knot right here.
You said not to come back, but I feel like you weren't being genuine with me.
That was, come back, please.
You said don't do it again, but you didn't offer a threat afterwards. So I wanted to find out what the consequences were.
Could it please be a massage on my shoulder? That's so inappropriate for another man to rub my shoulders. Please don't do it. Wink.
Oh, no, I would hate for that to happen.
Wait, before you start, I have one question. How firm are your melons? And how much do they cost?
Wait, you need to go back in the Corvette, do a big handbrake right next to him, roll down the window. So, how firm are those melons? And then just peel out of the parking lot.
So yesterday when we were driving back from Drifter University, I forgot what we were towing, and I forgot where we are. That is Alabama royalty. Like that Z06. There was a lady that when we went to stop for gas, she freaked out. She was like,
was she more than 50?
She was more than 50.
Okay,
yes.
it's Cougar royalty as well.
Oh, absolutely. But she was very interested. She was like, "Do you have a wife? Do you want another one?" Like that's what she said, and I'm like, "Oh, all right, okay." She's like, "You must have some money." I'm like, it's
cheap to be rich in Alabama.
Listen,
all right,
man.
So we need to give a little bit of background. So since we just came right into this, and one, for the people listening on audio podcasts, there's a third voice in here, and that is Freddie, quote unquote, Tavarish Hernandez.
Quote unquote. Like it's not a thing.
No, don't you have quotes Tavarish in quotes?
Sometimes, that's
I thought like it's not your legal middle name,
no,
right?
It's not.
Okay.
No.
Well, it's like Irwin Cannonball, quote unquote, Baker.
I've never heard anybody say quote unquote while,
because it's an audio podcast. I can do the air quotes. I have Freddie air quote Tavarish
unquote.
Unair quote.
Unair quote. Yeah.
Hernandez.
Now we're talking. Okay.
So Freddie's the third voice on the mic. And Ethan and I went to lunch at a local buffet type place, Country Bumpkins or something like that. It was in cottage cheese, country cottage, yeah.
Country cottage bumpkins.
And I was trying to display everything I learned at Drift University yesterday in the rental car. and I e-braked it into my parking spot on the gravel lot, and it threw up a cloud of dust, whatever. Nobody was hurt. No rocks were thrown near any cars.
One child was crying.
Right. Yes. No,
Several
there's no
squirrels were
children
crushed.
there. There's nobody there under 60 years old for the most part. But this very southern boy comes over and accosts me afterwards and firmly says to not do that stuff again. I said, okay. And he needed to reiterate it 3 more times. But anyway, so.
Well, he was the owner of that establishment, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, at least the melon cart.
He was definitely selling melons out of a really fancy pickup truck out front. But then I also saw him behind the buffet line. So I'm really glad that my immaturity didn't kick in and give him a retort what's it to you? Do you own this place? Because the answer would probably be yes. Find somewhere else to get lunch.
Mm-hmm. Street's closed, pizza boy.
Oh, you want lunch? How many melons are you buying? That's when you reply, only your firm ones.
I would have bought some melons. They're probably really, really good.
like
And my
some soft
wife's
melons,
flying
though.
this afternoon, so she likes watermelon.
There's a
Freddy's-
joke. There's a joke in there, and I let's just go past it. We're just gonna.
You haven't met my wife, so you can't joke about her.
I'm not going to. I'm sure
think,
she's a very nice lady.
I think she could kick your ass too.
Probably. I wouldn't want to test that.
She might be better at drifting too.
Oh my God. Well,
Okay.
here's the thing. I'm not competitive, so I don't care. It doesn't matter.
That is true. That is true. We learned that you can't smack talk because you aren't competitive.
Yeah, I just don't. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Jared needs to be number 1, or he's on fire and still trying to get that first place.
I did catch my car on fire.
You did. Yeah. So
All right. So Freddie.
afterwards, you still went out there.
Yeah, and we put the fire out, and I kept drifting. That's what you do.
That's right. That was great. Yes, Jared's car caught on fire thanks to power steering leak yesterday.
Yeah, brand new part failure. Thought we had all the power steering fluid out. Didn't quite have enough of it out, and as I was going around, it sprayed it all onto exhaust. And turns out, power steering fluid, it combusts very easily.
Yes.
And a lot of smoke and flame.
Yeah, nobody knew that before. That's a new that's a
Star.
new
The
fact
more
that
you
we-
know, or now you know.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
3 of us sprinted. Me, you, and my friend Jack. We sprinted to get a fire extinguisher, which nobody knew where it was.
Well, they were all on the track.
Oh,
so there
okay.
was one right next to Jared's car, but we couldn't see it. So the 3 of us literally sprinted all the way across the
panicking.
paddock.
Where's a fire
I friggin' hurdled the railing to beat you guys to the fire extinguisher.
And
He
then
did
all
3
the-
the
somersaults.
whole time there's one next to the car.
And
And
all the while, Tomorrow walked up the hill and came down because the fire had already put itself out. And I'm out of the car. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're done dribbling. It's all good. And they're like, ready to just run and spray.
And we get there.
oh gosh.
Well, for those who don't know, we were at Drift University yesterday.
Yes, we were at Drift University, which may or may not. We did an interview with Taylor as well that may or may not air before this one. But if it hasn't, Drift University is Taylor Hall's school for the under. What's the? No, everybody's looking at me weird. But there's a movie or something. School for the underprivileged. Not. I don't know. I'm lost.
School for kids who can't drift good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And have I think you have to have lesser brain cells to actually want to go out, and I include myself in this, and it's evidence because I can't even come up with a reference I was trying to think of. But you have to have a certain sense of crazy to go out and want to learn how to drift. It's not a normal performance driving school that enhances your skills on the street and gives you things to learn how to drive safer. It's just I want to
honestly
have bigger balls.
I think I agree with that to a point, and I think that you can learn car control to the point where you there's techniques that we learned there yesterday that we would never really need to learn, know how to use, but it's nice to have them in your bag of tricks,
Yes. No, and I say that somewhat sarcastically because, to want to go there, you have to just be like, all right, I'm going for the shenanigans.
Yeah.
But then in going there, you learn how much you're learning that is applicable
Yes.
to general car control and an understanding of driving on street and what your car is doing.
Yeah.
And how hard it is. Like how, there is a learning curve.
Yes.
There is so much that you start off and they start throwing terms at you. And Doug and I have a lot of track experience and have driven probably every level of motorsport style, road race, rally, drag race, cross country, everything.
Jared's done F1,
Yeah.
Drag race is motorsport?
Oh, we're gonna
David
put
didn't even hear me.
But like we a lot of time on the track, and it's hard for us because we have to unwire our brains because the moment you start going sideways, you fully turn in, off throttle, get it back under control, go. Freddie just doesn't do anything. Tavarish isn't, no real level to anything. So we're having to unlearn. Freddie's learning, and it's just cool because at the school and the atmosphere, everyone's cheering for each other. The first time someone links a figure eight, the first time someone gets a corner, everyone is cheering because it's a cool thing. Everyone supports each other, and it's like that was my second time, and I'm ready for more.
Yeah. Well, and there's very visible improvement. You go to normal performance driving school, you can kind of see what's happening, but not really. It's very subtle. With this, it's like if you get it wrong, you're in the dirt.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
If you get it right,
you look like a hero.
Awesome.
You look like a rock star. Yeah.
This big amount of tire smoke. The car is flirting right where it's supposed to be.
It's screaming.
And there's no real middle ground with drifting. Like it's not, track driving, you work up to it. With drifting, it's like all wrong, all wrong, all wrong, all right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I did it.
Well, it's like we signed up for Freddie and I were signed up for all 3 sessions, which it's a lot. And you were able to get 2, and
it's 10 and a half hours.
Yeah,
of
10 and a half.
I don't
so
think
much.
so. I did 2 sessions. I don't think you did any less driving than I did because you guys were so exhausted. Well, and your car was.
Well, yeah,
broken
I was wrenching on my car a lot.
Yeah,
but
we were out there a lot, and we had my friend Jack out there, and we just had a free session. So Jack went out there, and he learned how to do donuts and drift the same cars that we did, and he got a kick out of it as well.
Oh, and it was what's hilarious is I was saying we all cheer for each other. He's doing the parking lot exercise, which is just simple, controlled donuts around a barrel, and then you go into linking left and right figure eights. And he's struggling. Everyone's in the parking lot at this point because we're basically drinking water. First time he links it, everyone erupts in cheer. And then all of a sudden, we could hear the engine RPM go up 500 or 600. He's like, I'm a hero. And then instantly loops it.
Listen, it counted. It counted.
He did it. Yeah. That's what matters. So that was an absolute blast to hang out. So that's why everyone's all around and hanging out together. Is we went and hooned and blew up a bunch of tires.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so much fun. All right, so Drift University was awesome. Freddie, I asked Jared earlier about how he got his start. So this question, it's a question I ask pretty much every guest because I think the new generation of car guys and most of the people that watch us are. They're used to instant gratification, right? Because everything online is instant gratification, Amazon Prime, whatever. They don't understand the difficulty of the journey for anything. And this was kind of reflected in a conversation I had with my 5.5-year-old. Sorry, I say my 5.5-year-old, my stepson.
He's yours. I mean,
Shared. Anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm not a real dad. I'm a faux pas. I need my drum here.
I had to hear that again.
We
were one and done with that.
There needs to be a Boomer Humor count at the bottom of the screen.
It broke on that one joke alone.
I'm driving a Boomer car home.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh, you're gonna be King Boomer. Please.
You got your New Balance?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I wear Adidas.
We can make these into jorts.
No, these are nice. I have jorts at home. I can't cut out my good jeans. they were like $15. Okay. We got to get out of here at 4 so I can get the early bird special.
Gotta go to sleep.
You gotta go get the melons.
Okay.
Gotta have breakfast for tomorrow.
Okay. Ethan isn't laughing at all. Which, all right. So, my wife and I were asking our almost 6-year-old before bed what he wants to be when he grows up, and we're making suggestions and just kind of prodding him to see what he wants to do. And one of the things he came up with was like a Minecraft Lego master. I was like, well, that's very specific. Like maybe just an overall Lego master. Right. But that's because that's what he's into right now. But one thing that he's no matter what he's been interested in, because kids shift, they go from dinosaurs to cars to monster trucks to Minecraft to video games to whatever. Except car people. Car people just start with cars and are never interested in anything else. At least that was my journey. His one consistent answer is he wants to be a YouTuber. And I hate that answer. And I had to tell him, I'm like, okay, you can't just, that's not a thing to be. And he's like, oh, well, no, I can do it. I was like, listen, Papa has a lot of views on YouTube and it doesn't pay him any money. So like you have to be at the very, very, very top of your game to be able to make that make sense.
Right.
And not only that, like you shouldn't have a goal to be a YouTuber. You should have a goal to offer something to people.
Yes.
To have a skill to offer, to have, like, if it comes out as you're wildly popular on YouTube, awesome. But that in and of itself shouldn't be a goal. And I feel like that's a goal for just so many people now, especially with social media. Like, oh, I've got a TikTok account that tons of people watch. I'm going to be an influencer, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a terrible goal. There's nothing wrong with doing it. But so you've achieved it. Speak to, both of you have. But Jared talked about his journey. Speak to the journey a little bit about how you get there and whether or not you set out to accomplish that deliberately or if it was through a more circuitous route.
So I think there can be two ways of thinking about this. I mean, there's probably more than two, but when people say they want to be a YouTuber or want to be an influencer or something, they usually mean either I want to be famous or I want to do something really cool and put myself out there, right? And you can have both, but usually it's kind of one or the other. And doing something cool and putting yourself out there, that gets better results more than I want to be famous, because then it's, my dad is a millionaire and I want to be like, the only thing that's left on my, I need this in my bag of tricks because now I'm rich, but I want to be famous. So how do I do that? So I'm just going to show everybody how rich I am.
Right. Which is my problem, side note, with most of the Instagram car heroes is it's just, I have a lot of money and a cool collection of cars and now I want to be famous for that. Which again, we all want to see their collections, but it's just it's that mentality you're talking about.
And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, because I like that people with money and with a cool car collection or a car hobby, they're sharing it with people, which is good. I mean, they're going out to Cars and Coffee, they're talking with people, and it's generally bringing a sense of awareness to interesting cars.
Right. Maybe it's the way there's some guys that do it in a way that's like a flex, and other people that they're doing it to share it.
It's
so,
absolutely
there is a subtle difference. Yeah. But I was referring more
flexing,
to the way of doing it.
Flexing is something that a lot of people don't like, but it's so effective. I mean, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous it's still
that was the pre-social media flex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like Robin Leach needs to do, needs to narrate some of these YouTube channels. So
then we got MTV Cribs and
exactly. Like it's all just flexing, right?
Yeah.
But with YouTube, I think me, getting started. First, it helps if you're rich, right? I got a small loan of 1 million subscribers, that sort of thing. No, I mean, you have to be able to provide something that other people aren't seeing. And it could be a very small, minute change to a formula that already works. Like, I'll give, for example, Doug DeMuro. Doug DeMuro does car reviews, and he's not a person that invented car reviews, but he does them in a format that works for him, and he's honed that format over years, and he's found something that works for him, and now he gets consistent views. He has a big audience, and the people that were doing car reviews before, now he's eating their lunch, because he's like, I saw what they're doing, I'm taking elements of that, just making it more digestible. And that's what you have to do in YouTube. And I'm not saying you have to put other people out of business or anything like that. I actually believe that you should be able to collaborate with people, because the sum is bigger than the parts, So I think you have to be able to just take whatever it is you do best, whether it's putting together a storyline, whether it's building a car, whether it's I don't know, like Whistle and Diesel, if you want to destroy stuff in an interesting way, that sort of thing has an audience, and you have to understand what your audience wants, and then you have to be super adaptable, because that audience is gonna change, and if you don't change with them, then you're just gonna be left by the wayside.
Yeah, and I've noticed that. I guess I probably wouldn't notice it if I wasn't around Ed and guys like you that are in the business of YouTube, that are, it's rubbing off, and I'm hearing all these conversations about what it takes to keep going, and David, I can think of his
David Patterson
line. David Patterson. That dude in blue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's a good example of that, because he had a huge following for a while and then kind of became irrelevant through no fault of his own. It just like his audience grew up, or his audience changed, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that, maybe you can speak more accurately to this, but I think there's a very short life cycle of a YouTube audience unless you are continually adapting.
I think so. I mean, in the case of David Patterson, David's a really good guy, and he puts out some good content, but I think if you look at his view counts, they're not what realistically they should be. And there's a certain element of, algorithmic involvement, like the YouTube algorithm. There's things that it prefers, but when anybody ever talks about the algorithm, it's just synonymous with the audience, with the viewers. So if the algorithm doesn't like it, the viewers don't like it. And the algorithm is just based on what gets more viewer eyeballs on this thing, So I think there's a few things that he and other creators like him that have big, subscriber counts, but have sort of like low-ish viewership numbers, what they can do to increase those numbers, like maybe getting more people in the door, maybe changing up some styles, maybe doing a new series, something that will bring a new audience in. Because one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from the editor-in-chief of Jalopnik in 2014, Matt Hardigree, he said, you always have to write for the audience you don't have. And
interesting.
And because your core audience is always going to be there. You can put out whatever. That's like, I could go to the bathroom and then, and then I'll have 50,000 people watch it. Like that's true, but you want to gain a new audience, right?
Yes.
So you have to make whatever it is you're doing compelling for them.
Yep. Well, and that's a little bit what we're doing with the podcast as well, with Switchcast. It was, my goal starting out was to be, I use this analogy way too much, but kind of the Dave Ramsey or the car talk of a podcast, where most other podcasts are just interviews. There's no real interaction with the audience. I wanted to offer something to people where it was bringing in experts and answering one-on-one questions that people had, that the internet wasn't answering for them, to give them an unbiased expert opinion.
Do you feel like an expert?
At something. I don't know. I haven't found it yet.
I do not. If anybody's looking to me for any expertise, you need to really rethink your life choices.
Yeah, we're not on a Wednesday podcast, so we don't have to answer those questions.
Okay,
That's
good. We got the amateur. The amateurs
not live.
Yeah.
We have to be able to edit you guys out, So
yeah. Can you Photoshop somebody else's face on my face?
Yeah,
we'll put some melons on it.
That's right.
We'll adjust your voice too for the audio one, but you have a great face for podcast.
For face for radio. Yeah.
So, it's been going well. It's been growing, but we're getting some, we're running into some roadblocks, and just acknowledging some limitations of that format without having a large critical mass and with being in Cleveland, because it's kind of hard to line up guests in friggin' Cleveland, Ohio. Here we are in Cleveland, Tennessee, ironically, but Georgia. Sorry, the other Cleveland.
I think there is a Cleveland, Tennessee.
There
too.
is, yes.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. I'd never heard of Cleveland, Georgia, but anyway, so for, Ethan suggested, well, let's do like a season 2 and break it up and, figure out something. And I said, well, let's go on the road. Let's do some road trips. Let's go experience some car culture and, change the format a little bit. Like, I still want to stick to the main format because I think that's an offering that isn't really out there. But, give some, adapt a little bit and change, because we're still figuring this out and still learning our audience. So it's definitely a fun journey.
I think so. I mean, whenever you're doing any new venture, whether it be a podcast or a video or even, writing or, websites, you have to essentially throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks. So you have to be able to run the gamut of ideas, and then you have to make sure that those ideas are also repeatable. Because one of the things that I learned early on in my YouTube career is I had a very, very small YouTube channel. I had probably less than 1,000 subscribers at the time. And then I made this video that went viral. Viral, I'm using air quotes here. But it got like 1 million views in a week. And it was
That's viral.
Sure.
And that's
yeah.
I can't say it will get demonetized. That's coronaviral.
Yeah, there we go. That's interesting. Do we still have that boomer humor count? Like, we should put that, that Corvette's. Do you have the keys in your pocket? I think they're like radiating and like infecting your brain.
I do have the keys in my pocket.
That's it. Yeah. It'll do it.
We don't want to get him a second one.
No, definitely not. So it was a video where I took an airing of a high-speed police chase in California, and the commentary from it was some regional news affiliate in Albuquerque or something, and it's these two women, and they're just hilarious. They're reporting on this. It's not professional at all. They're just making jokes the whole time, and I cut that up and it went viral. And then I said, all right, cool, I got 1 million views. This is really good. How do I do this again? And then I realized very quickly I can't do this again.
Right.
So I'm not gonna be the police chase channel. I don't want to do that. But I'm like, okay, I know that I can do this. I just have to apply what I learned here into something that is uniquely me. And I mean that video also didn't translate into any subscribers or anything like that, because it's just
right. Because people watching that stuff, and I admit I'm one of them. Like, I binge watch police chases on YouTube.
They're fun, yeah, absolutely.
Literally, that's the only thing I watch on YouTube.
Yeah,
I've watched 3 of your videos and a little bit of InWiki, and then only police chases.
Yeah, they're great.
I don't know who the automotive.
I love these. What kind of microphones are these? Are these Shores?
Yep.
Are these SM58s?
They're Amazon Basic.
No,
cables.
Amazon Basic is the cable.
No, it's the cable. They're SM. They're Shores. SM.
Are you sure?
How sure are you?
I'm gonna hit you. I will strike you. I'll strike.
There's no speakers.
You don't get
I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger.
I think the guy at the parking lot of the cheesy cottage wanted to hit me too.
Probably would have sounded
bumpkin.
like that, just a gentle poof.
There's so many things I wanted to say back, but
What do you think his name was?
Larry.
I think his middle name had to be Joe.
No, he was a little more refined than a Billy Joe. Like, he had all his teeth.
Oh, so a Chet.
He was clean cut.
He was probably Chet.
Large beard. And
Do you think he drove an SSR?
no, he had a big. I think he had.
But do you
big
think
Tundra?
Right, but do you think that somewhere in his garage is a purple SSR?
I don't think so. He was too young for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was the Tundra? The 1776 Texas
That's like
edition?
what boomers who had a Z06 and then can't drive stick anymore buy.
Yes.
An SSR.
Well, they usually buy the Grand Sport because it looks like the Z06, but it comes in convertible and it's automatic. and then you can put stickers all over it that let you know that you drive a Corvette.
Have you ever driven a manual SSR?
I've never driven an SSR.
You're missing out.
Am I?
No, yeah.
No,
I-
the gearing is that of a Viper.
It is not a good
You don't
automobile.
really need to drive a manual. Like you just first gear will get you to like 70.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how garbage a Viper is? Like, it's just not a good car.
Which gen?
Well,
All of them.
wait.
I mean, like the last one is okay.
Jared and I talked about this at dinner. I think last couple nights ago. Weren't we talking about Vipers? Because I said I always wanted a Gen 2, and every time I got close, or were you and I talking about that?
I think you were.
Oh, you-
yeah.
Okay. Yes. I really want a Gen 2, and every time I get close to buying one, I can't because of the PT Cruiser steering wheel.
Yeah.
And the interior in general. And I talked about this on VinWiki, and of course everybody ran, oh, the Viper's amazing. You're just buying the wrong year. Or
Those
haven't
people
done
have
the
never
right
driven one.
upgrades.
Yeah, there's-
No. They all own them.
Oh,
They all own them.
They drank the Kool-Aid. Having worked on every generation of Viper, they're all factory kit cars.
Gen 5 is not.
Gen 5
So-
is less so.
No. So the Gen, it's a beautiful car, but I had one that I was doing a laser shifter install, and the way they mount the front bumper, you have 7 bolts that go across, and between the bumper cover and the core support, they have stacks of plastic washers, so it's nice and flat and has a nice body line. So middle one had 7 washers in it. You would think the next 2 on either side would be like 5 and 5, right? No, it was 6 and 4. They were mismatched across the front of the car, and the body line was perfect. It was just the brand new car with 38 miles on it, straight to my shop, was put together like that.
So here's what happens when Dodge gets engineers from Ferrari to make their cars, because that's exactly how Ferrari puts together their cars. It's atrocious how badly those.
Well, but that's planned, right? The famous quote from Enzo Ferrari that says, I don't care if the doors fit and the panel gaps are straight or whatever, I want the driver to crap his pants when he steps on the gas.
yeah.
So,
But,
so they're just doing
right?
modern poor build quality. Be like, oh no, it's our heritage. Our
it-
heritage.
It really is.
how-
I think the only time, I mean, I don't want to get too much off a tangent here, but Italian supercars were made like trucks from the 70s for a very long time. I mean, I think the last holdout for that was, God, I mean, my Ferrari 430 Scuderia, we're putting that together, and it's all just that. It's all just shims everywhere. The body panels are, like, the gaps on the panels are garbage from the factory. Like, these are not, we didn't get aftermarket anything. It's all OEM, and nothing fits. And that's the way they were from the factory. If you look at press photos of this car, nothing lines up. And it only changed after, like, I think Lamborghini was acquired by Audi, and then they actually started making cars like the Aventador, right? The Aventador was a completely new design, and then that was more Audi than Lamborghini in terms of, like,
Well, the
finish and
Murcielago was that too, right?
The
I mean,
Mercy
that
was-
was post Audi.
The Mercy had some very, very small I mean, if you want to talk,
I mean, it still wasn't good.
no,
but it was,
no. If you want to talk about, being pedantic, technically the last Diablo was when that happened, right? When Audi took over, but the Mercy was already being developed. The Mercy is exactly the same as a Diablo. It's a steel box frame, and there's washers everywhere. It really is like the Mercy and the Countach essentially have the same type of construction. But between the Mercy and the Aventador, that's like 100 years of development. It makes you feel like if you go into Aventador and then you drive a Mercy, it feels like you've gone back 100 years.
Interesting. But Ed loves Mercies.
I love them too. I have one, a second one on the way.
1.5.
1.5, and they're great cars. However, all the Italian supercars are built very poorly, and it took either either the Germans or the British with McLaren to kind of put them into the next century.
Unfortunately, not the Americans, but they
No.
took their shot at it.
The C8 is great though. The C8
yeah.
Corvette is awesome.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but other than that, I mean, I don't know how the Ford GT is, like, mid 2000s. I can't imagine it's probably built all that well. But I guess it's okay. I don't know what other American supercars have there been in that era.
In the 2000s?
Yeah, like 2000s up.
S7.
Yep.
Oh my
Yes.
god, that's, you want to talk about kit car? Holy hell.
Mosler.
Those aren't cars though. Like they made 4 of them. Like it's
Hey, that's
I'm
four.
just
That's more
saying.
than 0.
Are they street legal?
I'd probably not. I don't know.
They are.
So,
Okay.
have
You can buy one.
Sat or driven a Celine S7?
No, I don't think I can.
I've ridden on. I can't drive one, sadly.
Ridden on.
I've opened the door.
Was
and
it in a
sat.
parade?
All right,
It-
everybody
it-
get on the car.
It was around the infield of Atlanta Motor Speedway, but they're well built. It like you look at a Viper compared to a Celine S7, and it's the small company that is Celine was building a far superior car than what the Viper was. The Viper's just a giant engine on a roller skate.
Yeah,
And it's so much fun. Like, it's just one of those things. You can't ever claim a Viper is a precision instrument.
no.
It's
a hammer.
Yeah, it's a hammer, or
big
it's a
hammer.
drum set with 14 different variants of cymbals. That just meant to make a ton of noise.
It's a Neil Peart drum set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just meant to be obnoxious. But
It's Lars Ulrich's drum set in St. Anger. It's just paint cans, man.
but if you're a car guy or not a car guy, you know what a Viper is.
Yes.
Like, everyone knows a Viper. Everyone knows a Corvette. Someone will see a Celine and be like, that's a pretty car, but no one's going to know what it is. So we were making fun of how badly built they are. They marketed them pretty dang well.
I don't know. I mean, so the Viper was a pivotal car, and it's very iconic. And I love the way they look. I would always have a Viper if it just sat in my garage. And I think most people, as opposed to other cars, which just
Don't sit in your
don't
garage.
sit in my garage. I think like the people that buy Vipers want to drive them very sparingly. They'll go to Cars and Coffee and then just be the guy that can one up a Corvette owner.
I was going to say the people that buy Vipers are the guy that want to steal Corvette owners' girlfriends.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And then
For
run
the
them,
day-
run them into the ditch the first time they go to show
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there
Or
such
burn
thing?
their calves when they're getting
Right.
out or whatever,
Yeah.
as
Is-
they run back to the Corvette owner.
Oh, burn their cankles. Yeah.
Is there such?
Let's be honest here. Let's be 100 right now.
Is there a pre-1998 Viper that hasn't had a quarter panel put on it in the world?
No, they're all in Copart.
Yes, they have 12 miles on them, and they're collectiable editions.
They're in the Peterson
In a
Automotive
in
Museum.
a zipper bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pre-production one. They never let anybody drive it.
Yeah. Ford GT, 2000s
Yeah.
American supercar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
It's a phenomenal car. That was the first one to go 220 in a standing mile, right?
A modified one, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
But still,
Yeah,
like
I think so.
2,500
have-
horsepower. Yeah.
Well, you have to have a good chassis and aero because
Sure.
they didn't have any aftermarket aero. That was the Ford body, built Ford engine, but still, like that's an impressive feat.
Yeah.
They did not sell at all when they first came
No,
out.
they did not.
They're like 150 grand, and now they're 500.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they were sitting on dealer showrooms sometime for a year or two, and they were discounting them. Most of the guys I know that bought them new, 10, 20 grand off sticker. I remember I bought the best deal I got on one was around 2010-ish. I found a 1,200-mile car, red with white stripes. So it was super undesirable, you know. I think I bought it for 120 grand. 120 grand. I got the guy a manual 430 Spider at the same time, and he had a manual Aston Martin DB9 coupe,
Ooh, that's nice.
silver with red interior. And I
Yeah.
was like, whenever you sell that, I want to be first on the list.
Yeah.
He
Those
got
are
a
nice.
nasty divorce, and she took all of those cars away from him.
Oh no.
But it was in like 2012, 13 or something. So if she hung on to them for any length of time, whatever value they assigned in the divorce, she probably double, triple, quadrupled. Because, like, I mean,
The DB9 coupe and manual is pretty good.
that's a rare bird.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Car Trek. That is what
Oh, is that- is
everybody's.
that- I have.
Oh,
I'm wearing Car Trek merch right now.
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening, I have a black Car Trek shirt.
Yes, I have a white Stegosaurus shirt.
And I have a Travis Bell, the corporate car shirt on.
Yes. Do you have that on when you're working on Travis Bell's Transcon Medevac.
I have a couple times, and he's always tickled to death. He loves seeing his shirts pop up in videos.
Yep. All right. So how did Car Trek come about?
It was
The Pimp My Ride minivan.
the Pimp My Ride minivan.
That was a good video. Of the 3 videos of yours that I've watched, that was probably my favorite.
Oh, that was one of them. Good.
That was
Good.
one of them.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's
What-
good.
Was
no,
it the
okay.
second
So
one?
back up a little bit, right? So I say that somewhat in jest, but like I don't watch automotive YouTubers for the most part. Part of like what you said, a lot of it is people just like, oh, I have a lot of money, or my dad has a lot of money, so I'm doing ridiculous things in order to get attention. I don't
Right.
need to watch that. You know, I want to watch stuff that is legitimately entertaining and, you know, helping me become a better car guy.
Right.
And I want to watch people that are genuine, and that's what I like about your guys' stuff. And I think I found your videos, just somebody forwarded me like your Gallardo video or something like that,
Right.
before any of, you know, VinWiki or Car Trek or any of this stuff came up. So usually when people would mention YouTubers, I'm just like, I have no idea who you're talking about. So I at least knew who you were, and, you know, Jared, I met you through various car guy stuff and Cannonball and all that. But I liked what I saw because it was very genuine, and, you know, getting to know you guys has confirmed that, like, you are the same people in person as you are on YouTube, albeit, like, I can tell you, like, turn it up a notch in the enthusiasm for
You
YouTube,
have to,
which
yeah.
I know you
Yeah.
have to. Like, the video camera does to enthusiasm or does to your personality what stage lights do to your complexion. Like,
Yeah.
it mutes it washes it out, so you
Yes.
have to be a little bit, you know, upstaging to appear normal on camera. So I
Right.
get that, but, like, you know, it's not a fake persona. It's not you trying to be overly ridiculous just, you know, to get the clicks or whatever. You are who you are, and you love cars, and I appreciate that. So
Cool. I appreciate
so back to Car Trek. How did that come about? From like, all of you guys are YouTubers already. You, Ed, and Jared, and, you know, the 3 hosts anyway. Ed, Tyler, and you
Yeah.
are YouTubers. What were you drinking when you came up with the idea?
What Ed was probably drinking bourbon, right?
I think actually Ed and I both had a bourbon sitting next to
Yeah.
his campfire.
Yeah, fireplace. And
This is how the best ideas are hatched.
Yeah, and this was right after the Pimp My Ride van that Jared and I essentially built in like a few days. I bought a quick 30-second stories. I bought a $850 Plymouth Grand Voyager that had been used on Pimp My Ride for $850 from Rhode Island. I had it shipped to me, and then we just went through everything, mechanically and all the electronics and stuff, and then that video of us doing that, or that video series, got something like 22 million views, and like #1 on trending. It was crazy. But while we were filming that
video.
yeah, I mean, while we were filming that, we decided that it would be a good idea to give this van to Tyler Hoover, because I think he would appreciate it. It was,
And he had a newborn coming.
yeah, he had a baby on the way, and we're like, he needs a minivan. He needs something practical in his life. So why not a purple and pink minivan that has a jewelry making station and a dance floor,
And a TV footrest.
and a footrest that's also a TV, and several other things that were also TVs.
Yeah.
So we go to VinWiki HQ, which is Ed's house, and we start talking about, Ed brought up the idea of why can't we do Top Gear? Like, why can't we just make a Top Gear for YouTube? And there's no real objection there. It was just like, well, it would probably be hard to make, and it would probably be very expensive. So we had some sponsors, some opportunities. Auto Tempest was a sponsor of mine. They've worked with Ed, and we're like, this would be a real good case for Auto Tempest to do. Because
I did enjoy, though. Freddie had concerns and would like kind of, well, what about this? Or every protest, Ed's basic counter argument was, why not?
Yeah,
He's very good at that.
Like Ed will talk you into anything. Like he will. It wasn't a bad idea, but like getting Freddie calmed down with all the little concerns of just, yeah, but why? Why not?
I've learned to get past Ed's sales tactics because I've been
He's very good.
yeah, but once you learn the language, you're like, all right, Ed's doing this thing. I'm not whatever.
He gets a look in his eye.
He does. It's that it's that lion looking at the gazelle. It's like that
The
one.
I
veins
was just
pulse
gonna
pump
say,
up
it's
a little bit.
Yeah,
You can
It's a
tell his
look
blood
that
rate's
most
going.
men get for something else.
Exactly. He gets flush in his cheeks. Just gets excited. You know, the boy gets excited.
Starts shifting around.
Yeah, he's just
got to put his hand and like kind of.
just gyrating a little bit in his seat, just vibrating. Yeah, so we started talking about this idea, and then we're like, realistically, what can we do in order for a sponsor to fund our hobby? You know, like fund something fun that we can do with cheap supercars, because that's all we really wanted. You know, we wanted to have adventures with these cars and experience them and do fun things. And then we came up with the idea, all right, we can get, you know, cars for the price of a C8 Corvette, because the C8 Corvette was coming out. It was like the hottest thing. We're like, that would be a good starting point, and like, what can you actually get? So at the time, Ed got a Gallardo Spider, which was a salvage title, but it was a manual, which was super rare. And then I had a Aston Martin V12 Vantage S, and then Tyler had a 360 Spider in fly yellow. It was really, really nice, but it had the F1 transmission, which was pretty garbage. And then, but they're really good kind of poster cars for what you could get, because they all had small issues. They all, you know, had their quirks.
Ed's had big issues.
Not real. I mean, it ran out of gas in the first episode.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean the title, and you know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it did, but like, so what? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, as long as you can get it registered, it was fine. But that kind of started off the idea that this could be a thing, because people really liked it, and I think we also got lucky. I mean,
I don't know. That's the best phrase.
No, we definitely got lucky. The world did not get lucky, because I mean, COVID just hit and everybody was on lockdown, so all they did was watch YouTube videos. So when it came out, I think we got something like 2 million views within the first like day, like a day or two.
That's amazing.
And then it just, we had 7 episodes, I believe, in the first Car Trek series, and each one just got a million, and then, you know, they kept kind of going up from there. I mean, the view counts kind of dwindled as the episodes went on, but we
That's
realized
the case with any series.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
And I realized that, like, you know, we could make this into a thing. I really wanted to do it, and then we just kept on making series and coming up with interesting premises. And you know, we just finished filming. We finished filming the 8th series. We're gonna start filming the 9th and 10th, and I'm about to buy a car for one of those, like, probably today. So, you know, it's interesting. We just wanted to play Top Gear, essentially.
Yeah.
And then we're very fortunate that the sponsors let us do that.
Switchcast is brought to you by Boxcast. Boxcast is a live streaming company based in Cleveland, Ohio, and they serve broadcasters and viewers around the world. Their founders launched Boxcast back in 2013 with one purpose: to make people part of the experience. If you're looking to live stream your podcast, church service, car show, sporting event, your wedding, or even your cannonball attempt, Boxcast is an easy, flexible live streaming platform for organizations and individuals. Boxcast is so easy, we're broadcasting this from a phone. Head over to switchcars.com/boxcast for your free trial. Again, it's switchcars.com/boxcast for your free trial.
On the backside, first season, it was what? We had 4 of us. Yeah, I was running around filling in shoes. We had Frazier, we had Brent, and we had Jordan. Right? I think that was our full production crew.
Yeah, I think that was it.
And
Yeah.
it was rough.
We had no plan. When I say no plan, we had no. I mean, I had written out some story beats that I wanted to do, and we ended up not using a lot of them because we recorded it, and it was like, this sucks. This is not good. Like, none of it feels natural. And then we realized that, like, hey, we're not good actors, not even a little bit.
So I texted Ed, like the first episode of the first season was really good, and like the third episode, I texted him. I'm like, yeah, this feels kind of scripted. Like I was just like, you guys, you could tell you were trying.
So
it wasn't coming as naturally.
So here's the problem, because none of it was scripted.
Right.
Like zero of it was scripted.
And you told me that, and I'm like, well, but that now that what you say makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you were just, it's harder to act than to just be yourself.
We also did like a lot of those filming days were so long. I mean, we do long filming days now in the Car Trek, but back then we had an issue with I think it was like the third and fourth episode we filmed in one day, and we did something where we were supposed to get our cars appraised at a Lamborghini dealership, like Lamborghini of Palm Beach or something. So we go there, go to Lamborghini of Palm Beach. Ed talks his thing with the guy. They talk their, mumbo jumbo with the dealership lingo. And then they're like, okay, cool. We're going to have lunch. Over lunch, Ed gets a call. They said, Lamborghini Corporate does not want you to do that because you have a Lamborghini. We don't want them to look poor. Like, we don't want you to say, hey, I have a piece of crap Lamborghini. Here's how much it's worth. So they pulled out of it.
Stupid.
So they pulled out of it right then. So Ed and I, we went down the road in Palm Beach. We hadn't eaten, by the way, like this. And this is after we just finished doing the dyno episode, the entire dyno episode. So we were like already, pretty tired. And it was super hot. It was probably, 90 plus degrees there. So we just went down the road to every dealership that we could, asking if we could do this. We went to a Bentley dealership, and they would not look at us at all. I showed up in a Aston Martin V12 Vantage. They didn't care. We went to what looked like sort of like a high-end buy here, pay here lot, and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. And then we're like, yeah, we should probably not do it there. Like it looks real bad. And then we ended up going to McLaren Palm Beach, and they said, yeah, let's do it, because they had there was a mutual contact of Ed's, and we didn't have any McLaren, so they didn't care. And it would be better for them to say, hey, these cars are garbage, our cars are better. So, which was fine.
Slightly.
So we ended up,
McLaren is slightly better than garbage.
Knowing how a McLaren is put together, that is not true, not in the least. Those cars are not put together well.
I said slightly better. A new McLaren is slightly better than garbage. You're saying that?
Oh, than garbage. Yeah, I thought you meant like better than like an old Gallardo. I was like, I don't know, man. Like they're pretty comparable. It's just a lateral move. So I think like we started filming there, and by that time, like when we did all our shots, we did our establishing shots, and we had to do like an intro sort of monologue, and then we had to do our banter with everybody while they were appraising. We had to talk to the guy, and I had like the worst headache. Hadn't eaten, and I'm just like stressed out, and I'm so tired. And we had to be like, we have to get to our next destination. And our next destination, we had no idea where it was. We had to get, we did a man on the street bit, which is where Tyler just says, these three cars, how much do you think they cost? And what do you think the owner does? Like just kind of like a game show thing.
Sure.
And that's what Tyler does best.
Oh, but you forgot Mar-a-Lago.
No, but that's what I'm saying. We had to get there, but we had to fill some time up in the episode. So we said, where can we go? Oh, we're in West Palm Beach. Let's go to Mar-a-Lago. And Mar-a-Lago, for those who don't know, is Donald Trump's house. Like, that's where the guy lives.
And the only thing that wasn't closed during COVID.
Yes.
Well, and for a little bit of even more just kind of fun tidbit, as we're at West Palm Beach McLaren, a Marine One helicopter flies over.
Yeah,
a presidential helicopter flies over to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, so there's like probably Melania or whoever, Stormy Daniels is flying over. So then like I remember this is the point where this was like the worst acting in any Car Trek episode ever. And it was, we had to read a text from Auto Tempest. And at the time we were actually writing these things down, and we were texting each other so we could actually read them. But now Ed just like either makes them up on the spot, or we have them already kind of, pre-scripted. But it was like something like you have to go to the president's house and see what his neighbors think. And I remember saying, like, okay, I don't want to go to Washington, D.C. I don't want to be gone for that long. First of all, that's a horrible line. It's a garbage line. But it's the best I can come up with my, like completely, my brain did not work.
We're 12 hours into filming with 6 more to go.
Yeah, like we're looking
And
at a
no
long
lunch.
day. Yeah, and no food or anything. So all three of us were like on a couch like this, and we had a camera just like that, and it was just the worst acting. Like, wait, I can't leave for that long. Like my wife is gonna be really mad at me, and I looked at that on camera like, can we cut this? Can we just not have this in the episode? And it didn't make sense without that in the episode. I'm like, wow, this is garbage.
Well, and that's too, I think, where that was the plan, that all 3 of you were like, oh, we're having babies around the same time too. I think that was your planned reveal of everyone was about to be a dad.
Yeah. So
Or dad again.
all 3 of our wives were due within like 2 months of each other. Ed's wife started having contractions on the last day of filming.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh girl, actually.
Yeah.
So it was that was interesting. But
Plus 1 on the boomer count.
yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like the real kind of contractions. It was one of those like fake ones that like baby's not coming yet, but we'll in a little bit.
You better be home tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
you better. Yeah. So after that interesting day, we got into Mar-a-Lago. They waved us in because surprise, surprise, if you have 3 exotic supercars, they will let you into Mar-a-Lago. If you act like you belong there, they will let you in.
They looked really
that's
important.
the case for a lot of places.
Absolutely.
Because I'm following behind them with one of the camera guys. We were in a rental, blacked out
Chevy Tahoe.
Police spec.
It looked
everything.
like Secret Service.
So I'm a big burly guy. Brent's muscular, tattooed. Like we look like a security detail for 3 very important people.
Yeah.
So they just waved. This cop waved us right in.
So 3 of Donald Trump
Is he
Jr.'s
still
best
employed?
friends, just rolled in with their supercars, and then we get there and Tyler's in front, and he just stares at the valet guys, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I don't know. They just let us in." And they go like,
Ed really should have been in front.
Ed should not have been in front.
No, we would have gotten arrested.
Yes, we would have gotten arrested.
What did
'cause
Ed say?
Yeah, Ed gets out of his car because apparently he thought that was a good thing to do. And so Tyler says one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And it's like, it's not a lack of self-awareness. It's just like one of these like matter-of-fact things that Tyler says. He goes to the valet guys. He goes, "What if my name was Trump? Would you let me in then?" It's like completely unironically, like this old would look like Italian valet guy. He gets livid. He starts screaming at us. He starts saying like, "Oh, you guys can't be here. They're gonna call the cops and whatever."
I could have you arrested, but I have a heart, so just leave.
Yeah, just leave. And he's like really giving us a hard time. Like, this is private property. You can't do this. You can't do this. So then we turn around and leave, and then like we stop before the exit, and then Ed gets out of his car to like, I don't know, do a vlog or something. It was wild. I'm like, guys, we need to leave. Like the president lives here. Like we could get in trouble,
But as we're pulling back out, asking about the police officer who let us in, his superior was there, and like he had the guy had the stance of he was being verbally whipped to a level that he had never experienced before in his life. Like it was why would you do this? How did you think this was okay? It's just absolutely getting screamed at as we all pull right out past him back onto the street.
But now, I mean, I think we're at the point in our lives that we could probably get invited to Mar-a-Lago. I feel like we can.
I don't know. It depends who you voted for.
Right.
Here's the thing. You can lie.
But it was also that
They can check
that season that
No,
day,
they can't,
the man on the street that night is when I realized, for the most part, if you act like you're supposed to be doing whatever it is you're doing, you can get away with a ton. Like we were trying to find anywhere to fit these 3
depends on how you
cars.
look.
Yeah, and to do something with. And there's this area in front of a building, perfect little pull-in, and it has got like 14 no parking signs and a security guard actively there. They kind of pulled in. I pull in the Tahoe behind them, jumped out, walked up and said, "Hey, we need to film something here real quick. We're going to park the cars, but we'll be right with them the whole time. Is that okay?" And he kind of looked. He's like, "Yeah, okay," and went inside.
So usually people are pretty reasonable about things. and they give you a lot of leeway when you have nice things. If you would have came in like some Chevy Celebrity that's like puking black smoke and you look disheveled, they'd probably be like, no.
If we brought the season 3 cars,
I think having a camera helps too.
Yeah.
Having a camera is like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to be on TV. It's like, yep, this is going to go on television, right?
The new TV.
It's
the
it's
tubes of you.
Yeah.
it's the new TV. It's for the Utes,
So what's your favorite car Trek car,
Utes of
Doug?
America. Favorite car Trek
Not
car?
including the season 8 cars.
The one he's
The
about
one
to
I'm
buy.
about to buy. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
I'm buying
2006.
and road tripping home with my wife,
Oh, you're gonna love
who
that.
is under 40.
That's good. Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
That's gonna
You
age
keep talking
her.
about it like it's a
Tavarish's
thing. I don't know.
Corvette Z06
Yeah.
that is on season. I can't count. I don't even know what season we're on, and we're only
It's
on
going to be
season
in
two.
the eighth. Yeah.
eighth season, right? Yeah. And it's funny too because you have a reputation, as does Ed, for buying cars that need some love.
What?
Yes.
This is news to me.
No.
What?
It's
How
what,
dare you.
It's what you do on
Oh, it is
on
it
the
is?
internet.
Okay.
So I have a reputation for having a car dealership that buys and sells extremely clean, well-vetted, serviced vehicles. So I have to be careful.
So-
when I got to give you a little. When you sold me when you were trying to negotiate with me on the Z06, he was trying his best to be a shrewd negotiator. He wanted me to pay him a little bit more for some exposure on the
Oh no
on the tubes of you.
Okay,
but,
I'll wait. I'll wait for you to
Yes.
you to say this, and I'll correct you. Yeah. Go ahead.
if well, he was implying that, but I almost was like, no, man, I don't want people to know that I'm buying cars from you because that'll destroy my dealership reputation. That
Are you
being
taking off the
said-
car Trek stickers? Is that
being
what you're
said-
gonna do?
No, I won't. But that Z06 is really, really clean.
I told you
That's
it was.
that must be the. I have to say I haven't actually seen the cars in your warehouse other than like, yes, but
So, the car Trek
It's a
cars
step
that
up
I bring,
from-
they're always garbage because I think that it's a better story. Like it's
Well,
it's,
yeah,
it's
that's the
just
YouTube
funnier.
model.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, nobody cares. Like if I go out and try to start a YouTube channel, it's like, man, I bought this one owner Porsche GT3 with 1,200 miles and a fresh oil change.
Nobody cares. Nobody
Nobody
cares that you had a
cares.
great time.
That's
Nobody
the
cares that you
video.
bought a nice thing. Yeah.
12-second video.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you have a Porsche GT3 that had been on fire and has several raccoons living in it, and like that is, and has inexplicably 280,000 miles,
Right.
that's interesting.
Right.
Well, and that's where finding the conflict of them doing their dream cars. At that episode, it's like we're gonna have fun driving around in our nice cars. How are we going to make this interesting
Yeah.
to the viewers? And that's where the idea of them also having to track down the first cars
The
that
first
they
cars,
bought
yeah.
and
Yeah.
actually road tripping them. So that's
Yeah.
one. I've seen some comments where people are like, "Oh, you script everything," and it's like there's an outline, and that's not even
Yeah.
followed half the time.
Well,
Like-
the budgets and the purchase is a little bit fabricated because that like you guys, you don't randomly find them. You have maybe already purchased them.
We look for cars every day.
You do, yes.
Every day.
But
Yeah.
the storyline of you finding them is a little bit bit of artistic license.
I bought every car that I've had on that on Auto Tempest. Like, and I mean the Super I bought on Auto Tempest 5 years ago. So that was
All right.
There was nothing that said it couldn't be like 5 years ago. Like it didn't have to be the budget now. It could have been the budget back when we didn't have Supers that
and
were $100,000.
mods never counted until you suddenly have $50,000 in mods in your $30,000 dream car garage.
Yeah, I mean Ed cheated real bad in the first one where he got he put in another 18 grand into his Gallardo. It was like that car was like $70,000 or $80,000. It was insane.
Well, it's just like the ADM for Corvette C8, so
Yeah, right.
it's fair.
Well, yeah. So like the Z06 is clean. I like it. I'm just not a Corvette guy. I've learned. I've driven it a few thousand miles. It was super solid. It's real fast. It sounds great. It's very comfortable. The stereo's good. AC's good. It's just a good all around car.
I had
But-
a blast on the Dragon with it.
Yeah. Don't check the brake rotors. Just don't look at them.
That's a weak point on those cars anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jared will tell you that. But it is a very, very capable car, and I did try to take good care of it. So I felt a little bit offended when you're like, oh, I don't want people to know. They're like, I think you should let people know. This is what you know.
Well,
what? I bet you it's a dealer tactic.
Brand
right?
identity.
I bet you it's a dealer tactic because the description for that car is going to be like the world famous Chevy Z06 used in Car Trek, seen by millions.
Do you know that adds zero to the value,
Well,
at
see,
least
this
in
is-
our world? For Ed, somehow it works. He can sell garbage to a garbage collector.
If you put a ad on a wholesale car club with this car mentioning that this is in a world famous Car Trek thing, I'm just gonna laugh my ass off. It's good.
I thought you were gonna make me a bet that if you do that, it'll get more money. But I don't.
Oh no, I think it will.
Well,
I
no, see,
think it
this is how
absolutely
you
will.
get more money. You can say it has fresh heads, so you don't have to worry about the valve problem and new clutch. But don't worry, it wasn't installed by Tavarish. Jared and Wrench every day did the work.
Oh,
Put it.
okay.
No, the real test is putting it on the Corvette Buy Sell Trade group on Facebook because they are the most critical bunch of cranky boomers on the planet.
Well, that's one of
And-
how many? Have we figured that out
One
yet?
of one that was
Yeah.
on Car
Oh,
Trek.
And
right?
they're all in Boca Raton. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
It is
Corvette,
a one
that's-
of one.
No, I
Yeah.
think honestly,
my Corvette is best Corvette.
to answer
because
your
rare.
question from way my Corvette is best Corvette because Freddie farted in the seat.
Here's my toy car. Here's my
I
real
think
car.
pretty much everyone farted in that seat.
I think that
Okay.
Hoovie's SLS was probably my favorite car, even though it's very vanilla, whatever. It's an SLS. I like those cars. It was
Okay.
a cool color, whatever. I don't know that.
Sure.
It's a boring answer, but that obviously Patina 996.
Yeah.
That's my favorite car because I know it. I know the owner, his family. That story is so cool.
With its 220 horsepower at the rear wheel.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my, that's.
I
some-
don't think that dyno is accurate. I did a second gear pull with a 3.6 car, which is 3 something, and I pulled on him.
So he
A
was
bone
also
stock
broken.
3.6.
So that car was also
Here's
broken.
the thing. That's what we figured. We said, okay, well, his engine must be complete. It was bore scoring, IMS failure, all that, all at once.
It's just
But-
because how does the Supra and the
Trans Am.
Trans Am make the right
They were
horsepower?
still somewhat off.
Well,
They
we
were
found
not.
the reason why the Supra was off.
The
And it
turbo was coming off the manifold.
It
That's
wasn't
why.
the blow off valve. It was
The bolts were backing themselves out in the turbo, and after a certain amount of boost, the turbo just literally came off the manifold and leaked all the boost out. So
This is why we don't trust the bolts that come in turbo kits. Get your own good one.
yeah, yeah.
All right, Jared, as unofficial stunt driver on Car Trek, who is the best driver of the three, and who is the worst driver?
Well, the worst is with us. He's
How dare you?
What?
How dare
Tyler
you?
couldn't even stop his car at the end of a runway.
So, well, the reason I'm going to flag Freddie as the worst is he has the most self-preservation instinct.
So, I don't know if you saw in the last Car Trek, but that Rockford turn that I did with the RX-7 was fire. Okay, it slapped.
And then Ed caught fire.
Tank slapped?
No, not tanks. It was
No,
good.
It was good, but when it comes down to it, Freddie will always put his life first.
Uh huh.
All right, so who's the best driver? I'm
gonna
Ed's
say-
gonna take it as an insult that you had to think about that.
Well, Tyler is much more precise. If you want something precise, you get Tyler. If you want something brute force and showy, it's Ed. Because Ed, of the three, is the least worried about surviving.
I don't know. I think Tyler's more. I think honestly, Tyler's more showy. What he did with the Trans Am on that track, he had it everywhere, and you can tell at many points he did not have control of that car.
Right, but everywhere
Like it was
he-
not a controlled
was
slide.
very
It was an
current.
but-
uncontrolled
but
slide.
everywhere Tyler did it, it was safe to do it in the sense that he had lots of room to go into grass.
Okay.
Ed, who slammed into a tree at 50 miles an hour?
The person that you said is the best driver?
I didn't say he was the best. I said the showy.
Okay.
Because he has the least self-preservation.
So you understand that I am the worst driver out of a group of somebody who smashed into a tree on camera. Okay?
Like somebody that ran off the end of the
Yeah,
runway.
ran off the end of the runway. So like we are in great company here. Like this is just a
So
fantastic
I think
group of drivers.
we need to go back to drift school.
So you know what? In the next one, I'm going to show everybody up. Okay? It's going to be a thing where I
look forward to seeing that.
Okay,
absolutely.
Wait.
He's smack talking.
I
know, it's surprising.
This
But-
is good.
Okay, I'm pissed.
But here, let's go. There, at the end of Drift University, you get your chevrons for basically if you're a beginner, advanced, intermediate, and then each student gets an award for the day. Your award,
Most improved.
I got best line, which to me is like, I'm really proud of that one because that's basically a competition line. So me
Yep.
and the Car Trek BMW, maybe competing. He got most smoke, and I think
Yeah.
that's what he's blowing right now, the most smoke.
I got most smoke. First of all, drifting is about style. If you have more smoke, that means that your wheel speed is up, and that means that you're doing. See, I'm an entertainer, guys. Okay, I don't care about lap times. I don't care about lines. I
Here's
want
the thing, though. I think Taylor, he didn't have a chevron for most brown smoke because it was the dirt.
Oh.
So much dirt that you
Dirt,
were
yeah.
blowing up.
You know what? It doesn't matter what color the smoke was.
Because if we're being honest, I am pretty sure I also had the most smoke of the day.
You were off.
Your
into
car
the
was on
dirt
fire,
a
yes.
lot.
Yes.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did a lot of backing.
If we
into
just
the
went
dirt.
onto the track and lit a car on fire, I think you would get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most
All right.
on fire.
Well, with all that, I do think we need to come back to Drift University.
Oh.
That was an incredible experience. So,
I just feel incredibly slighted by the people on this couch right now.
well, we're out of time, so you don't have time to
Yeah.
defend yourself. That was.
Oh.
It's amazing how that happened.
How that timing
So,
worked. You
how-
asked
how,
the right.
Yeah.
how convenient that is. Oh, wow. It's almost like you control this podcast.
Freddie, Jared, thank you for being on here. It was great times yesterday. Good discussion today, and just appreciate having you on.
Cool.
And
Thank you
look
for
forward to
having
seeing
us.
you again.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
And look forward to the upcoming episodes of Car Trek with the extremely rare Corvette Z06, which I now own.
Are you going to do a call to action for your own channel?
A call to action for my
Yeah.
own channel.
Yeah.
On this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I am, but it's going to be done afterwards.
Oh, I mean, you should. There's never enough calls to action. If you guys are watching this and not subscribed to Switchcars, is it? Is that
Yes, YouTube.com/switchcars.
YouTube.com/switchcars? You should definitely go do that because if you aren't, you're missing out.
If you're watching it, you're probably already subscribed.
Probably not. Look in your analytics. Look in your analytics. That's probably not the case.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
See ya. Thank you.
We're happy to have Nuts for Sticks as a sponsor of Switchcast. Nuts for Sticks is a fantastic merchandise site where you can get t-shirts, car-related t-shirts that usually also have dad jokes and puns on them. They have a great selection of high-quality t-shirts there, so go check them out at nutsforsticks.com and use discount code SWITCHCAST for 10% off your entire order. Again, that's nutsforsticks.com, discount code SWITCHCAST. Well, thank you guys for listening. This was a fantastic interview with Freddie and Jared. We had a lot of fun, even though it was definitely not air conditioned in there, so it got a little bit warm. And it was great to tour the shop down where Jared works on his cars and see some of the projects there, as well as just get to know the guys better. Thank you to our sponsors, Boxcast, Nuts for Sticks, Switchcars, Celebrity Machine, Stephen Holm Woodworking, and Nathan's Detailing. Thank you to our producer, Ethan Huffnagel. Our bumper music is provided by Emily and Ivory. You can stream their full album on Spotify or SoundCloud. This episode will be available Friday in audio format wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. as we look forward to answering your automotive questions and entertaining you to help you on the drive of your life.